Here they come. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us for another lunch hour of WGI's Career Conversation series. I'm Will Schneer, the Chief Marketing Officer for WGI, and we're thrilled to have you join us today and eager to connect you with several of our young professionals who are driving growth and results for our firm. WGI is a multidisciplinary professional services firm leading in technology-based solutions for the construction of public infrastructure and real estate development. At WGI, we like to say that we're providing tomorrow's infrastructure solutions today. The built environment and the process by which we envision, design, and build infrastructure is changing faster than ever. With over 600 design professionals spread across 18 offices in some of the most desirable locations in the country, we're at the leading edge of this change. Our aim for our Career Conversation series is to provide value to our audience in an open forum and platform where our professionals will share about life in the workplace and their early career experiences. We'll be discussing internships, job search tips, the importance of networking, and the value that can come through professional mentorship. If you like what you hear today, I'd encourage you to visit the careers page on our website, and we have a page dedicated specifically to university students seeking internships and recent college graduates seeking their first full-time position in the workforce. Today, we're happy to have as our hosts 3 team members from our structural engineering practice. Emma Floyd, engineer in our Kalamazoo, Michigan office, and has been with WGI for 2 years. She obtained both her undergraduate degree and her graduate degree from Michigan State University. Ava Lamb is an engineer in our Austin office and has also been with us for 2 years. Her undergraduate degree is from Virginia Tech in civil engineering, and she has her master's degree from the University of Texas. And Ava was also an intern with us before joining full-time shortly after graduating. Nicole Swanteson is an engineer in our West Palm Beach, Florida office. Nicole's undergraduate civil engineering degrees from Florida State University, and she has her master's from Florida Atlantic University. As we visit today, I would encourage you to ask questions at any time using the Q&A tab or chat feature on your Zoom browser. I'll be reviewing the questions throughout the dialogue here, and I'll do my best to ask them directly before we end our session this morning. All right, with that out of the way, we will go ahead and get started. Thank you, ladies, for joining us today. Emma, I'm going to ask you the first question, and it's a softball. And Ava, you can supplement the answer after Emma tells us a little bit about what her team does from a structural engineering perspective for our clients. Emma,
yeah.
First.
All right, yeah. So I guess up in Kalamazoo, we do a lot of parking solutions. We have both new design and restoration. So we do a lot of concrete long span structures. And I know in our Texas office, Ava, that you guys work on a lot of more buildings, flat plate, podium. Both do concrete, steel, wood design of new structures. And I believe down in Florida as well, we have bridges, we have piers and more close to like water structures than we do up here in Michigan. But yeah, so that's just kind of a quick overview of a little bit of the structures we do here at WGI.
Yeah, not much to add to that. And the Texas offices, we do all kinds of different buildings from like apartment buildings made out of wood. We do steel office buildings, healthcare buildings, retaining walls, all kinds of vertical structures here.
Great, great. And Ava, when you were just a young hokey, did you know that you wanted to be a structural engineer when you were a senior at Virginia Tech?
I did actually, yeah. I kind of decided going into college, I knew I wanted to be an engineer, and I looked at the list of different kinds of engineers and I thought this one would be the coolest. And it has been, so I stuck with it all through college. Yeah. Like, that one sounds awesome. Let's do that.
Nicole, how about you? I'll ask you the same question. When you were a senior at Florida State, did you know that you wanted to be a structural engineer, or were you still deciding?
As well. I didn't know what structures I wanted to work on, but pretty early on in the civil engineering program, I realized I really loved structures. So I knew I wanted to focus on that.
And what you went through 4 years of undergraduate and got a more general civil engineering education. What about structural engineering most attracted you to that discipline? And has it proven to be true?
Yeah, I mean, I really like that with structures, you can design something and then actually see it in real life a couple years down the road and see work that you've put into the world and have a physical representation. And I also enjoy like the math and the calculations aspects of it. I just like the calculations too.
Great. And this question's not in the list of questions I gave you beforehand, but how many of you drive around with your friends or family and happily point out all the buildings or structures you've worked in?
Yes, as much as possible.
I do that too, so much that my wife has now started telling me when there's non-family in the car not to point out all the projects that we've worked. Ava, I know you had an internship prior to graduating. Tell us a little bit about that experience, how you got the internship, and it was, if I recall correctly, it was with Big Red Dog, which WGI acquired 2 years ago. So your internship with the firm we acquired. Tell us a little bit about how you got it and what you did during your internship.
Yeah, sure. So I had a couple internships before that that I got through job fairs and also through family connections. And so I had some experience already, which helped. And then I just kind of blindly applied to Big Red Dog because I loved the idea of it. I loved the company culture and was so excited to get it. And honestly, the internship here was so much more involved than my other internships I had. So from the start, I was involved with modeling and analysis software, going ahead and doing design work, a lot of design work, even as an intern, which was really special. Not just the most boring tasks. There were some of those worked in there, of course, but got a lot of really valuable experience with a small team here in the Austin office. It was so valuable. Learned a ton.
And everyone was a Longhorn at the time. Your whole team in Austin were all Texas master students, right?
Yeah, I'm sure that helped me get the job too.
Emma or Nicole, did either of you have an internship prior to your full-time job?
Yeah, I actually had an internship. It was in bridge design. And I think I definitely got a little bit more of the boring stuff than Ava. But I also think I appreciated the bridge design portion, but it kind of pushed me into more of wanting to do bigger structures that I'm now working on. But it was definitely a lot of good experience. Even in my job now, I still have to do the small annoying stuff that I think it's just like your basis. You need to know all that in order to keep moving forward. So I do think my internships were definitely super helpful in just pushing me to be a smarter engineer.
Nicole, how about you?
I'm sorry to say I didn't have an internship. I was focused a lot on classes and summer classes, and I had family issues that arose that kind of prevented
Okay.
being in an area for a long time.
One of the questions I have related to the internships is actually very similar to a question from the audience. And so one of our audience members is asking, did you feel overwhelmed as an intern? And the second part of that question was there anything you had to learn before as part of your internship that they did not teach you in school? So I know for me, when I had an internship, very little of what I did, I actually learned in school. I was not a sharp structural engineer like you guys. So mine was in more general civil engineering, land development. But Ava or Emma, was there any point you felt overwhelmed or that you had not learned something in school that you needed as part of the internship experience?
I'd say as far as feeling overwhelmed, I wouldn't say overwhelmed. I mean, I was busy, but there was flexibility. The people I worked with understood that I was also in school. So my internship here in this office, I was working part-time and taking classes full-time. So they were willing to work with me. If I had a big test coming up, they let me take the day off. So there was flexibility there as far as being overwhelmed with doing both school and an internship. As far as wait, what was the second question?
Well, did you learn something as part of your internship you had not learned in school, perhaps software packages or, different building design or design mechanisms that maybe you hadn't been exposed to prior to your internship?
Yeah, for me, definitely. I was using a software that I had never used before. And to learn how to do it on the job.
Yeah, definitely. I think even once I got this job, I had 5.5 years of schooling under my belt to be a structural engineer, and you still come here and you're like, wow, I learned so much every single day. So even just in my internships, they don't expect you to know everything that you're supposed to be doing. There's always a learning curve, and so I've never felt overwhelmed in the fact that I do something where I couldn't go ask for help, and they know that this is for you to learn and for you to get more knowledge under your belt. And so it's definitely can be, I think, scary to not know something, but that's kind of what we expect you to, learn some basics in school, but to really learn how to do engineering when you get on the job.
Do you almost feel like school almost gives you the qualification to start learning on the job?
Yeah.
That's the feeling I got. I could pass all the engineering tests you gave me, but I couldn't actually do a plan set until a year or two into the job.
Yeah.
When you, Nicole, I'll ask you, when you came aboard full-time, to what extent did networking play a role in you finding this opportunity, if any?
It definitely played a big role. I mean, I first heard about WGI at a career fair at FAU, and I talked to some people who worked here, and I really liked what they had to say for the company. And how I actually got the job was I had a professor who was actually in transportation who wanted to help me out to find a job, and he knew Corianne over in the Fort Lauderdale office. And so his connection got me in with her, and then she sent it over to my current boss, Jeff, and I got an interview.
that's a great anecdote about the importance of making those connections. A professor introduced you to a professional who introduced you to a professional in another location, and ultimately you hit it off and came on full time. So Ava or Emma, feel free to chime in here, because the point I'm trying to drive home is the importance of networking in your job search, not just submitting online applications into the ether and hoping something comes back. But networking is a challenge in the current environment, COVID-19 environment, and some of it is now digital, but nonetheless, I believe critical to helping people get their foot in the door with companies and industries that they want to work for. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. I can't say that through networking is how I got this job, but it definitely is how I got internships and going to job fairs and talking with people. There was even companies that would reach out to me after I got this job just by keeping a good rapport. And when I was applying to jobs after graduation, a lot of it was through the help of just people who I knew through professors, and then they knew someone. And so it definitely is really key. I think a lot of professionals want to help young kids and find a job. And so it's definitely a good way to find something that you're looking for.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat where networking didn't necessarily get me this job, but it got me internships prior to this one through family connections and through career fairs that gave me the experience to stand out for this job. And like, I also had other people reach out from prior internships wanting to chat when I graduated. Yeah.
Great. Let's talk about mentorship. I'm going to shift gears a little bit away from looking for an internship or looking for a job, and think about, do you have at WGI now a professional mentor, someone who has helped you, guide you, answer your questions, make sure you continue to take on increasing responsibility? And if you do, hopefully you do, tell us a little bit about that relationship, how that has helped you flourish, and how important that is for new graduates as they enter the workforce.
Yeah, I definitely, I think everyone in this office is a mentor to me. I'm definitely the youngest engineer in our Kalamazoo office, by far. No. But I have a lot of great guys that have been in this profession for a long time. They know a lot of information, and they want to give you information. They want me to keep pushing along in my career and know more. And so I can count just down the hall every office of someone who I have gone to for a question or have discussed a problem with. And not even just in my office, but in our Indiana office and our Texas offices. It's so easy to just pick up the phone and you can call anyone, and everyone's just very much willing to help answer your questions. I think that's just been the easiest part of this job. Is it's never felt like it's bad to not know something, because they want to give you this information. And even more and more information when I first started, just doing like little things, designing little things. And one of my coworkers, there was always background information. There's always more that he could add. And he's like, sorry that I'm taking up your time. I'm like, no, I enjoy knowing this as much as you can give me. So there's mentors, I think, all over WGI, and it's definitely helped me in my career just to continue to learn and move forward.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty true for me too. There are so many people I can ask, but Forrest hired me. He's been amazing. He's so patient and always willing to answer all of my questions. I've never felt bad about asking more questions. And I've also been grateful to him and to others for giving me information. They're like, I don't even have to ask sometimes. They're like, do you understand this background process that you've never heard of, or you're not really exposed to maybe the more business development side of things or project management? I am lucky that they are willing to talk to me about those things that I don't need to be involved with yet, but just to get some exposure, copy me on emails, help me understand and start to learn this other side of structural engineering that you definitely don't in school. Yeah. So yeah, definitely have had some really great mentors and continue to be grateful for them.
Great, great.
It's pretty much the same for me here as well. There's so many people here that are just so willing to help, that'll take the time to answer questions and have me come sit in on meetings so I can experience other sides besides just the design of a small project that we'll give to me. And it's been really great so far.
Good, good. You both, Nicole and Ava, you touched on something without explicitly saying it related to the clients. How much, Nicole, I've been with the firm just over a year, and Ava and Emma 2 years. How much interaction have you had with clients, whether you're corresponding with them by email or phone, attending, you're not attending an in-person meeting right now, but Zoom meetings, how much direct interaction at this point in your career are you having with clients?
Yeah, at this point, definitely a little bit. I wouldn't say so much. When we have projects that we are a prime consultant on, we work for our clients, and so they are the owner of the project, and so we want to make sure that they are understanding the process of the construction and getting what they are ultimately paying for. And so in the project that I have right now, we meet with the owner every single week for this project because it's wrapping up. And when you're in design, depending kind of where you're at in the project, we might not have as much just day-to-day contact with the client, but definitely more so where we're at in the project and construction wrapping up. You are, when you're the project manager, you're definitely in contact with your clients all through the project. And so yeah, definitely keeping a good relationship is key because that keeps us winning more and more projects. We work a lot with cities and universities for at least our parking structures, our parking solutions. And so working with clients is key. And yeah, it's definitely something we do a lot.
Yeah. So far, I've had some limited interaction with clients. A lot of that happens when we do an initial site walkthrough. We'll meet with the client and we'll discuss some of what they're looking for and they'll show us the areas. But like you were saying, in the design aspect on the day-to-day, there's limited contact for me personally with the client.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say the same for me. At this stage, I'm not the one communicating directly with a client. It's usually the project manager, but I'm happy to be copied on all of that to understand that relationship and how it works. I always ask to join project meetings, see how those go, what those look like. I often don't know the answers to their questions still. So I'm grateful to the project managers for being that point of contact. But there have been a few projects more recently where I've started to kind of become a point of contact. My name has been put out there at the beginning of the project saying, hey, you can call her if you need something, which is exciting and a little nerve-wracking, but good things. And it's definitely a progression. We want you to start doing this a little bit when you can, when you feel capable. At the very least, if you have a phone conversation, you can get all the information and talk to a manager about it and call them back. So minimal to begin with, but starting to have some more and more communication with them directly, which is fun.
Yeah. I had a mentor when I was a young engineer who said the second best answer you can give a client is, I don't know.
Yeah, I will call you back later.
The first best answer is the correct answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're not sure, just say, I don't know, and I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
Don't lose your credibility with the wrong answer. That's possible.
Yeah.
We have another question from our audience that mirrors one of mine, and it is, what does your average day look like at the firm? Do you predominantly do calculations? Is it a mix of consulting with clients, visiting sites, etc.? So what does a typical day look like for you now, early in your career, is the first part, and I'll let you do a roundtable there. And then I'll lead into what would a new grad on your team be working on if it's different than what you say in your answer.
I think this will be interesting because I think we'll each have slightly different answers to this. And I bet if we had someone from the bridge group, it would be different for that person too. And it depends so much on what project you're working on. I mean, we'll be working on really touching on 5 or 6 projects at once. It's just a matter of what are we going to focus on today, at least in my office. But primarily day in the life for me is pretty design heavy. And so you're like, what the heck does that mean? It means working with spreadsheets. It means working with 3D analysis software, modeling things. We use Tekla Structural Designer a lot. That's a fairly new software, but I spend a lot of my days deep in TSD. I even do hand calculations, which I thought was crazy. I was like, that's only going to happen in school. No. Like today, I'm working on a calculation packet and I am using the equations that you will learn in school. Put it together and prove that this design works.
As a disclaimer, I think structural is one of the few disciplines that will do that.
Yeah.
I never did that as a land development guy.
Yeah, I was shocked. I take a picture of it sometimes. I'm like, look, guys, I did math at work today. Crazy.
Yeah. Because mine is probably pretty similar to Ava's, that I'm working, I have kind of 2 projects going on at the moment, one at very different stages. One is in design, so I'm working on modeling. Up here, we use SAP 2000, so modeling our structures and getting designs for columns, for beams, for slabs, and we have to do all that. We also have to produce a calc book, so I'm going to be, scratching pen to paper, some calculations that you just kind of need to do some checks. And then for my other project, my day-to-day is, it's in construction and it's opening hopefully on Friday. And so that is just a lot of reading emails, responding to emails, coordinating, getting out to the field, reviewing the conditions. We have to review all the concrete, make sure that they have followed our specifications for finishing. And so it's at a point where it's a lot of communication with the contractor and with the owner to button up a lot of stuff, get our inspections in. And so it's a lot of emailing, and it's quite a 180 from design, but it is nice to kind of have that mental breather. So that is kind of my day-to-day currently.
Yeah. For me, there's all the design. I have multiple projects on the plate, so I bounce back and forth between them. Lots of math CAD sheets and calculations. And then there's also, yeah. And there's also site visits where we go out and do inspections of existing structures. And then you have to come back and write a report. So I'm really happy on Friday, just finished the big one that was dragging on, just kept getting delayed. So I'm happy that's submitted. Then there's also field inspections where we do rebar or concrete pours. So sometimes I'm out in the field all day. Sometimes in the office for a full week. It depends on.
The parallel to that question, or the follow-up, was, what would a brand new graduate on your team be doing, if not what you just described?
Yeah,
I mean, a lot is field stuff, field work, and going to projects, I believe.
Yeah, from us, the new grad would be doing a lot of the similar stuff. I mean, they'd get smaller sections of progress of projects and start out smaller. And I think at this office, we definitely try to get new people out in the field a lot, get a lot of different experience, and actually get to see what stuff looks like in real life instead of just on a plan set.
That's eye-opening, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm just
always so much bigger.
Culverts are huge.
I'll never forget the first time I tied 5 pipes into the same manhole, and my boss pulled me out in the field and said, "Now look at this 4-foot manhole. How are you going to get 5 pipes in here?" And I said, I don't think I'm going to. He said, "No, you're
Yes. Field experience is definitely very beneficial in design. I didn't design the project that I'm on that's currently in construction that's opening. But when I would go out there for field visits, they would say, you should have done this in design, or I like it when, it's designed this way. I'm like, okay, mental notes. Because it does give you the experience. You think, oh, just stick a bunch of number 11 rebars in there and you're fine, but the people installing it are not going to be too pleased with you. So new grads would definitely be, I think, new grad versus intern is a little bit different, at least in my experience, but new grads are definitely, I was put onto projects right away here. Just doing little things, dipping my toes into softwares that I haven't really used and some smaller stuff, and definitely helping out my coworkers with any work that they had. And then, internships, it's a lot of field visits. It's reviewing shop drawings. We always need people reviewing shop drawings.
I was going to ask, because none of you
Always.
mentioned that. And I knew that was a big job for an intern.
That was my big thing when I was an intern, was shop drawings on shop drawings on shop drawings, because it's a lot of checking and verifying, but it's got to be done, because they like to only look at the shop drawings and not the construction documents when they're installed.
Right. And they don't always look at the design documents when they make the shop drawings.
Correct, they do not. So that is also very important, that I think would be a big thing that an intern or someone new would definitely be. I know I've reviewed so many shop drawings for people when I first started working here.
You learn so much from doing that, though. It's not the most exciting thing in the world, but you will learn a ton, and it helps you so much with understanding the drawings yourself. So not all is lost. Like, this is still a good thing.
Yeah.
And I think if you're a new graduate in our office, we don't have quite as many projects in construction right now. So we're not doing a ton of site visits, but of course, whenever possible, we're getting out there whenever we need to. But you definitely be thrown right into design work. And all right, here's our spreadsheet, or here's our software. Let's learn it and go. Project due next week. All right.
You learn a lot. First year,
Yeah.
I learned so much. I would look back. We had moved offices a little bit ago, and I was cleaning out my office, and I was like, I can't believe I barely knew what I was. This easy topics that I can, do in my sleep now. I was just learning how to do it, just like a year prior. So you learn a boatload, and they want to learn, and they will help you learn. But yeah, it's definitely, welcome to the club. Like, let's get designing.
We had a follow-up question on your handwritten calculation. I think you struck a nerve.
We scared people away.
No, it's cool. It's fun.
I've got an 8th grade daughter, so I'm trying to teach her algebra. So I can handle algebra. I'm a little worried about the next 2 years after that.
Luckily, this pretty much stops at algebra.
What kind of math do you guys use most when it comes to hand calculation? What equations are you using?
For me, I mean, it's really just following the equations in the AISC steel manual or ACI concrete manual. It's literally taking equations out of the code or following design guides, putting it into a spreadsheet or writing them out by hand. Actually the stuff you learn in school and in those manuals specifically, like I'm not doing complicated matrix stuff that's like the background of the software. I already forgot all of that.
You don't remember reduced row echelon form and all of that? No?
Oh, no.
No, it's not as daunting as it sounds.
No, it's definitely not.
It's in school when you're taking your exam and you're learning all this. It's very much you feel like you have to memorize it. You have to know it by heart. I don't remember. I will use the same equation 5 times throughout the day. I still don't remember it. I have all these books and guides and everything. I have the internet. You have people down the hall. You have all of these resources that seems like you can't use when you're in school, but you can use. And you have code books. I have some right here that I'm working on.
Yeah.
You just take equations right from there. And if you don't know if you're using the right equation, there's so many resources, aka coworkers, that you can use. And so it's very basic algebra, but it's just checking, making sure that you meet your requirements that you need. And we do have a lot of MathCAD sheets, and Nicole mentioned MathCAD, and it's just kind of, I don't know, I didn't know what MathCAD was before here. So and it's basically you can just type an equation, you can put inputs in and it'll solve a lot of things for you instead of having to actually do hand calcs through it all. So it's very nice. But yeah, it's not as terrifying as it sounds when you have to do math all day long. And if you like math, which I'm sure a lot of structural engineers do, it's a lot of fun.
Such nerds.
I know.
That goes with the territory.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get a group of engineers on the phone.
Yeah.
Not my best moment, but after my first date with my now wife, she described me as a nerdy engineer type to her parents. So
Oh no.
I thought I was a pretty cool dude, but apparently not.
The first thing my father-in-law said to me was, "You seem pretty normal for an engineer," which is a great compliment.
It is a good compliment.
I mean, weirdness comes with the territory when you're in engineering.
Mhm.
Yes.
You got to embrace all of it, the good and the bad. Nicole, was there anything surprising when you started your career that you came across, or did you experience anything for which you were not prepared?
I guess I wasn't super expecting that my first day here, I was going to be thrown straight into the mix. I mean, before I even got to sit down with HR and go through everything, my boss was like, "I hope you brought a pair of boots. You're going out in the field after you're done with your meeting." So my very first day, I went out and did a concrete pour inspection with a coworker, and then came back, and the next day they gave me a project for pedestrian bridge, which it's really great learning experience, and I'm glad that they did it, but I was not expecting that to happen my very first day. So it caught me a little off guard, but it was all good.
Good. The concrete pour, I'm gonna come back to the surprise question, but the concrete pour, have all three of you witnessed a concrete pour? Many of them? How many of them do you think are in the middle of the day versus middle of the night or early in the morning or late at night?
I've been at a project at 4:45 in the morning to watch a concrete pour.
So have I.
In Michigan, when it's that cold, it's not fun. You definitely have to invest in hand warmers, shoe warmers, because steel-toed boots are cold. But it is, I mean, it can also get really hot here. So concrete's moving bright and early in the morning or at night. But yeah, it's not typically, at like noon, you can just watch concrete.
Yeah, not usually convenient. Yeah, whether it's the weather or the location doesn't want a lot of concrete trucks coming in the middle of the day.
Yep.
I know downtown Austin prohibits concrete pours until after 6 p.m. Because they don't want the trucks hogging up the roads all day. The thing in Texas is the heat, so they won't pour in the middle of the day because it's too hot during the summer. So during one of my internships, I was a surveyor, and we would do pours at midnight at 2 in the morning, at least 2 nights a week. So that was tough explaining to your parents because you're still a college kid living, staying at their house, but you're leaving at midnight to go to work on the side of a highway.
Yeah. Terrifying.
So back to the surprises early or things you didn't anticipate. Ava, do you want to hit on that one?
Yeah, sure. For me, I think I was just shocked about the quantity of things that I still did not know. Like, I had an undergrad and a master's degree, and you show up and you're like, I don't know how to do any of this. Help. Luckily there is help. Like, it's okay. Like, we've all gotten through it, but I think it's helpful. It would have been helpful for me to know you're not gonna know how to do this. I've been here for 2 years and there are still so many things I don't know how to do, and it's okay. Like, you're not gonna know. There's just so much to know. I mean, our teams are working with concrete and steel and wood, and then within concrete there's reinforced concrete, or there's PT concrete. I mean, there's cold form metal steel, there's masonry. Everything is designed similarly but a different way. You're not going to be exposed to it all in school. You're just going to have to get really good at learning on the job and asking good questions, and it's just going to take some time. And I think my bosses probably still are learning every day. It's just the nature of the job that there's so much to know.
There is.
Yeah.
You guys could be below grade. You could be coming out of the ground as a structure. You could be in a marine environment. There's all kinds of considerations.
Yeah, you could be in Texas where we don't have to deal with earthquake or or snow, or you could be in Michigan where you're definitely going to deal with snow.
You could be in Utah where you have high seismic and high snow, which is
yeah.
And
totally
not
different
buildings.
Yeah, no.
Yes.
Two more questions, and this is really related to COVID-19. The next one, when you started your careers, obviously no one in our lifetime had experienced a pandemic like we've gone through, and that all changed at the end of March, and it continues to reverberate throughout today in our professional duties. So how has COVID-19 impacted your day-to-day workday? And what hasn't been impacted? So you can answer it, in the positive or in the negative. What's changed versus what hasn't changed since March.
Yeah, I think the biggest change initially was when we all got sent home, and it was a bit of a learning curve. I think you're very much, this might just be an engineer thing, but you're very much used to like your space and getting things done. And so when you have to pack up all your stuff and work from home, it was a challenge. And I even moved back in with my parents for a little bit. That's just a challenge in itself. But I think I'm used to having all these resources. I'm used to having someone down the hall where you can just quickly go talk to someone, ask a question. And so when you're kind of taken out of that area of the office, it's just kind of, you feel a little isolated. At least I did. I think that was the hardest part. I mean, you can still pick up the phone and call someone, but it's just so much easier to, walk 10 steps over and talk to Mike, or down the hall to talk to Josh. And so I think that was definitely the hardest part. I know, not from my personal experience, but from my brother, he started working in January and got sent home in March. And so, being there for 2 months, you have so much to learn still. And so asking, what am I supposed to be doing today and stuff can be hard when your boss is already a little bit maybe busy with dealing with COVID things. And so I think, patience in starting work in this kind of environment is really needed. And I think everyone understands that it's kind of hard. So when we all moved back into the office, I was kind of like signed up to come back in at like the first of it. So now COVID hasn't, I wouldn't say, really changed much of my day-to-day. It has in dealing with my projects. We had a lot of projects that got put on hold during the shutdown because Michigan had a stay-at-home order. They shut down a lot of construction projects unless it was deemed essential. And so dealing with that, it's a lot of money, a lot of costs, a lot of rescheduling. We're still even dealing with things being delayed on shipping. And so there's, I guess, like your personal experience in COVID, and then there's the project delays. But so now day-to-day is kind of back to coming to the office. We still have the ability to work remotely, I think, which is really nice. I think a lot of people here at WGI choose to work remote when they have to. We have a lot of, I guess, mandates in place to keep everyone safe. And so you gotta wear a mask if you're walking around. And so it is a little different, but I think now it's definitely a lot easier. And I think we've gotten used to working in this environment. I have so many Skype calls. So it's okay in some aspects, but it can still be kind of annoying to have a call instead of being with people in person. So it's a learning curve that I think everyone's still trying to figure out.
For sure.
I hope I answered the question. I don't know.
You did.
Okay.
I thought Zoom was great for 2 weeks in March and April, but then I got worn out.
Yes.
Ava or Nicole, do you want to chime in on how COVID has impacted our day-to-day?
Yeah. Go ahead, Nicole.
Okay. For me, the day-to-day really hasn't changed much. I mean, here in this office, our entire department's pretty much, none of us work from home. Few of us would take like a day to test it out, but we've been here through all of COVID. So I've had the resources around me this entire time and been coming into the office. So that hasn't changed. What it really has been affecting is like networking and meetings. So now everything's over Zoom, not able to really travel to other offices and see like Fort Lauderdale and meet with their structures department. And so there's some challenges with that, and the lunch and learns that the company offers people are no longer coming in, so it's different dynamic, but for the real day-to-day, it's been pretty constant since I started.
Yeah, I feel the same way, echoing both of y'all. I worked from home for several months and that was fine, but it was a learning curve for sure. But now we're so much better at communicating over Zoom. we all sit socially distanced in the office. Now we're back together, but we will call in to the same Zoom meeting from 6 feet apart and talk to each other. Kind of hilarious, but it's necessary and it's what we need to do right now. And yeah, client meetings are weird because you don't know if you need to turn your video on or not, how that's gonna look. But I think because it is affecting literally everyone, we all are being patient with each other. Our expectations are different across the board, not just within our company, but as I said, on client meetings. If your dog barks in the background, it's cute. It's not unprofessional anymore. It's okay. We all understand. And yeah, we had some projects go on hold. Most of them came back. So day to day, not too terribly different, which is good.
And as a final question, I want to give each of you the opportunity to just, give some free advice, which is often as valuable as the price you pay for it. Free advice to our audience on finding a job during COVID-19, and what are some things that they could do to get in with employers and to network right now at a time when they can't just walk into a society meeting or a student meeting on campus or an in-person career fair. I know it's very challenging. This group here has now had almost 7 months of doing their job by Zoom and by GoToMeeting and by, someone mentioned, Skype. So translate that. What can a soon-to-be graduate do in this environment to help them get into the workforce? What kind of advice would you give as you wrap up today?
Oh gosh, I think I do not envy anyone who is trying to get a job during COVID-19 because I know how stressed I was trying to find a job just during normal world. So I can't really imagine what it would be like right now. I know that at the beginning, at least, I heard of a lot of people who they either had an internship or they had a job, and they would reach out to their, I guess, future employer and say, are we still on? And they just wouldn't hear anything. I think companies were a little stressed. And so I definitely would say patience, especially since companies are maybe not even hiring or there'll be like less opportunities out there. So, remain calm because everyone's in the same boat. We will get back, you will find something. But I think in order to, keep pushing forward, reach out to anyone who I guess you have graduated with in your class. If you know anyone who knows other people, it's all just kind of like who you know. But right now, continue applying online. I know there are still options available, but I would definitely try and contact, ask your professors and talk to as many people as you can. If you know anyone, family members, definitely word of mouth right now, I feel like is the best way to kind of get in there because you guys are stressing, but I think companies are stressing as well. And so I guess patience and just keep trying, keep, getting your foot in the door, emailing people. If you know someone who works at a company, just email them, whether they're in HR, whether they're in accounting, whether they're in whatnot, because we know who to give a resume to. So yeah, that's my advice, I guess.
Great.
Yeah, and keep going to things like this. When companies are getting creative and they're coming up with things like this, they're replacing career fairs with virtual career fairs, whatever that looks like. And that's really the way in right now, I guess, is to keep track of all that stuff. I don't know what it's like other than this, but I can I think this is a great start. And yeah, as Emma said, networking as much as possible. I will mention, all three of us have master's degrees. If you want to go into structural specifically, you're probably going to need one. So if you don't have one and you want to go into structural, try to make grad school work. That'll help you get a job in structural. I know that's also a stressful option, but best of luck to you all. Something will turn up sooner or later. Work those connections as much as possible.
Yeah, I don't have much more to add. I mean, keep trying, reach out to those, I know that was helpful for me. I'm sure it still is at this time. I know, update your LinkedIn profile, keep that active. I know that there's recruiters on there reaching out to people now.
Great, great. One last fun question. For work, what is the coolest or most interesting place you have traveled for a project? And you can just give the city or the location. And we actually, one of these sessions, two of the ladies said we went to Hawaii for actually a conference.
Yeah,
So.
They win. There's no topping that.
I can't top that. I went to Michigan and more Michigan and more Michigan.
Yeah, I haven't actually traveled outside of.
In 2.5 years,
really.
I don't believe that. Come on. Colorado?
Oh, well, Forrest has gone. I can tell you where my project managers have gone. They've gone to Virginia, they've gone to Nevada, they've gone to Colorado.
It sounds glamorous, and it's glamorous for about 6 months.
Yeah. I think we would need to both go, and that's a big project expense.
Well, great. To end on a light note, thank you, Nicole and Ava and Emma. This has been wonderful, and I've enjoyed our hour together. And thank you to all of our visitors. It was great having you join us today. You can find out more about life at WGI and your career opportunities at WGI on our website. We have several career pages there, which are easy to find. The website URL is wginc.com. And of course, we're social at WGI, so you can connect with us on all of the major social media platforms, including Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and we have a large library of videos on YouTube as well. WGI is hiring. We have openings throughout the country in various disciplines. So please do check that out. And thank you again for joining us today. And we look forward to meeting you in person very soon. Have a great day, guys.